Airtable is an amazing tool, and if you're coming from a tool like Excel or Google Sheets, you actually have an incredible advantage compared to others who don't have that understanding. However, there's a big mind shift that has to occur in order for you to start using Airtable the way it is intended. If you try to use it with a spreadsheet mentality, you are going to hit some walls and ultimately probably give up using Airtable, or at a minimum, not get what you need out of the system. If you miss this early on, your database in Airtable is going to become difficult, if not impossible, to maintain. And so in this video, I'm going to break down for you the key differences between mindsets when you're building in spreadsheets and how you can transition to thinking in Airtable. So if that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth and this is Gap Consulting. It's my mission here to help you unlock the full potential of Airtable and the related no-code tools. And in this video, as I mentioned, we're going to be walking through how you can do the transition mentally from a spreadsheet like Excel or Google Sheets and get to thinking in Airtable or databases. Now, I've worked with thousands of clients over the last 10 years or so, and helping them transition to Airtable is a specialty of ours, to reframe the way that a person is able to think so that they can build real solutions. And there are some serious advantages for you coming from a spreadsheet mentality, but there are some hangups that we also need to be aware of that we're going to call out in this video. Now, before we get to the heart of things, I first want to invite you to join me for some training. We've put together an Airtable crash course. It's going to walk you through all the core features of Airtable so that you can really start leveraging it to the best of its capabilities. If you want to grab that free training, you can sign up at gapconsulting.io/Airtable-crash-course, and I'll include links wherever you found this video. All right, but now let's get into the heart of the video. Where does the spreadsheet mentality start to break down? Now, as I said, you do have some significant advantages if you're coming from spreadsheets because you're used to looking at rows and columns. And to be frank, building in Airtable is best, in my opinion, when you're doing it from the data layer. Yes, Airtable has made some changes over the years that allow us to now build from interfaces. But if you're able to think in rows and columns, you have a huge leg up on most Airtable builders. And also, you already have a foundational understanding of how formulas work. And formulas in Airtable are very similar to those in Excel and Google Sheets. They are almost the same thing with some slight tweaks. So the fact that you already have a little bit of spreadsheet background is a great place to start, and it's a strength, not a weakness. But here's where it breaks down. And the core place is in understanding that Airtable is a database that allows you to build systems, whereas spreadsheets are really good for storing numbers, and they're basically giant calculators. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that we have used spreadsheets for a lot of list tracking over time. I can't tell you how many organizations we work with that are using spreadsheets just to kind of track information that it's really not designed to do, right? The spreadsheet is not the best fit for it. So if you can start to identify those parts of your organization or of your workflow that would fit better in a database, that is where this video is really going to help you build better systems. It's about system thinking, not just calculation. The biggest place where this shows up is in understanding the Airtable features and schema. A tab is a table in Airtable, and a table collects or lists out all of a certain type of thing. On the other hand, a tab in a spreadsheet is kind of like a bucket. It's really simple to duplicate a tab. Maybe you are just kind of like copying and pasting, or you're repurposing some sort of calculation. But in Airtable, we're really intentional about the way that we build tables or tabs. If you start using the Airtable terms for things, calling it a table instead of a tab, it's going to be the first step to help you re-identify exactly what this thing does. So here's the key takeaway. And if we can shift this thinking, you're going to be on your way to building proper databases in Airtable. In a spreadsheet, a tab is a new version of the same data, but that's not true in Airtable. In Airtable, a new table is a new kind of thing that you're introducing to the overall system. The most common mistake that we see with new Airtable users is that they create new tables as if they would create a new tab in a spreadsheet. Let's look at an actual example that I had from a client from many years ago. This client was using a spreadsheet to track different signups for people who visited his dance studios. He had 3 different studios, and he wanted to collect information like who is the person, what was their name, what is the date that they came in and received a lesson, what is that person's phone number, and what is that person's email. And with his business model, he would offer a free dance lesson for your first time. And of course, his goal was to reach out to you and to nurture the relationship so that you came back and started dancing more with his studio. So the way that this person built out their initial system was to create 3 individual forms in Airtable that went to 3 different tabs. And the reason for this was because he had the 3 different studios. So he would say, well, they came into Studio A, so I'm going to add them to this table. Or if they came into Studio B, he would add them to this table. But notice one thing. The thing that he's tracking is the same information from table to table. And so what he's doing is implementing that spreadsheet mentality here, and he's building different tables to track the different locations. This is the key mindset shift. What we need to consider when we build this solution in Airtable is not the way that it was done here, but instead to consider what are the things that we're tracking. Number 1, we are tracking contact information. That is the first thing. And we need to build a table specifically for this information. And it's really what he's done here, except we don't need it in 3 different places. This shouldn't be called Studio A. This should be called contact information, and all of that information from the 3 tables should be brought into one table because it's the same information. It's tracking who is it, when did they have their first lesson, what's the phone number, and what's the email associated with that contact. Now, that's part 1. The next thing that he's missing here is connecting another table, which is the location. So let's imagine standing this up. First, I'm going to copy the information from these 3 different solutions and put it all into the first one. So I would copy all of the contact information and I would rename this to contacts. Then I would ditch my extra tables because I don't need redundant data ever. If I have the thing is the person, the contact information, I only need it in one place. And now I can add a new table for locations. And here is where I will get rid of the predetermined fields and I will name out my different locations: Studio A, Studio B, and Studio C. And here's the key takeaway within Airtable. Now that we have our things living in the proper tables, we can connect those tables across the database. So contacts will link to the location that they first attended. We build a link from either of these tables. And when we do this in one place, it will be done in both places. So if we link a location to a contact, that contact is also linked to the location. So let's go ahead and create this new linked field, and we can select all of the people here who first went to Studio A. It was person 1, 2, and 3. And then Studio B saw sample, and then Studio C saw test. And as I said, that relationship is now going to exist here as well. So when we build that link, it's going to show up in both places that are linked in that relationship. The problem isn't that Airtable couldn't handle 3 different tables with duplicate data, right? The Studio A, Studio B, and Studio C tables that we started with, Airtable can do this, but the problem is that you're coming at it with the spreadsheet mentality. You're forcing Airtable to work like Excel, and that's not where it really shines. Instead of copying that same data structure, if you follow what I just went through and you build out 2 different tables that are connected, now you're able to truly report on your information. So your key takeaway is that if something repeats, it probably deserves its own table. This entire idea is called data normalization, and it is a key piece of learning how to build in Airtable. So flipping back now to our data layer, you can see that when we make these changes, we get a lot of benefits from Airtable. Number one, it's way easier to automate this type of a system because every time we build an automation, it is linked to a record in a specific table. And so if we have 3 different tables doing the same information, that means we have to triple every automation that we build within that system. That is unmanageable. It doesn't scale. But now that we have contacts all in one place, one automation every time, much easier to use. The second big thing is this data is something we can actually report on. We can build graphs and charts in our interfaces of Airtable to show us how many people came within a certain month, or how many people visited Studio A versus Studio B. We can now get real data insights from our information because it's built in the proper structure. So here are 3 key takeaways to help you build smarter, more scalable solutions like the one we just walked through. Number 1, a new table is a new type of thing, not a category. A new table always represents a new list of things that might connect to other components within your process. Number 2, if you're ever copying a table, stop and ask yourself why. There's a good chance you don't want to copy it, and instead you need to link that information and restructure your data thinking a little bit differently. Number 3, if something repeats, don't duplicate it, link it. Link it to other tables. This is the true power of a database and something a spreadsheet can't do. And it's where everybody gets stuck when they're first building an Airtable. But if you overcome the difficulty, you'll have better systems. But don't let yourself get overwhelmed if you find this difficult. As I called out at the top of the video, you already have a huge leg up on new Airtable users if you're coming from the spreadsheet mentality, because formulas still matter. You're going to go so far with Airtable formulas. They're so similar to Excel, you're going to have a huge leg up. Also, logic still matters. You have already learned how to think logically with rows and columns, and that is going to serve you well building in an Airtable environment. Number 3, structure still matters. So just to echo the other 2 points, you've already started to learn how to structure things in rows and columns, and that is going to help you build better. But the key change to your mindset should be that Airtable rewards thinking in relationships, not just rows and columns. Rows and columns are the first step. The third part of that, though, the 3D element of the spreadsheet mentality, is thinking in relationships. So linking your rows to things that they are actually connected to in your system. Let me also call out that a lot of people will tell you that you need to start perfectly in order to start to embrace Airtable. And that's not true. There's a lot of complex things that you can do with Airtable. There are automations and interfaces and AI, but you don't need any of that to get started. Start with the basics. Start with your tables and linking them correctly. And hey, understand that if you don't get it right the first time, that doesn't mean that you don't have a good system. It can just be a little bit better, but you can still play with it. You can still use it. And as you use it more and more, you'll realize where you can improve it and make enhancements. So that's it for this one. I hope that this resonated with you and helps you start to think in databases, thinking in Airtable instead of the pure spreadsheet mentality. Keep sticking with it, and if you have questions that we didn't answer in this video, swing by our website because we've put a ton of resources together for you to help you as you grow with this tool. That's it for this one. If you enjoyed the content, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, keep on building.